Let's talk to Trump campaign fundraiser John Tatum. We've also got former Reagan economic advisor Diana Furchtgott-Roth. Diana, maybe you could help me with a little history here, even though you're very, very young. But when I distinctly remember, owing to my age, the concerns that no less than the Wall Street Journal had at the time, that the generous nature of Reagan's tax cuts was overwhelming. The cutting that he was proposing was almost too much. And they worried and editorialized about this again and again and again, that deficits would go nuts. Now we're hearing similar talk again, and that it's going to cause a problem for those Republicans who were blasting President Obama for adding $10 trillion to our debt, so they're not going to let this president do it with tax cuts. How real a threat is that?
Well, first of all, having tax reform is going to attract businesses back into the country, because right now our corporate tax rate's about 39% compared to an OECD average of 25%. President Trump proposes to lower it to 15%. House Speaker Paul Ryan wants to lower it to 20%. So that would right away stop a lot of these inversions that are happening, where companies want to be owned by foreign companies so they could pay the foreign tax rate. So that is an important point. It will generate tax revenue. Second, I think we should focus also on spending
well, isn't the
cuts.
issue that it will certainly generate tax revenue? I readily agree with you on that, Diana, but not pay for it exclusively.
Well, one never knows exactly how much is going to come, and we have not had a tax cut of this magnitude.
True.
We also have not had
true.
so far such a large differential between the American corporate tax rates and the corporate tax rates of the rest of the world. We have been getting further and further apart ever since the 1980s. But we also need spending cuts, and Martin Feldstein has proposed raising the Social Security retirement age gradually to 70.
Well, don't hold your breath on that, and I could be wrong, and I love the ideas he outlined there. But, John Tatum, what if this is all just tax cut and no spending restraint? Does that worry you?
It does worry me, Neil. And I think it's ironic that you had some Democratic supporters on, all of a sudden they're concerned about deficits. And where was their concern for the past
I know. I said the same
years
just all of a sudden,
deficits?
like me lecturing someone on eating a salad. Don't go there. But nevertheless, I thought it was a little galling. But he did mention something interesting about, and others have said this, Steny Hoyer, the #2 Democrat in the House, there's not going to be a single Democratic vote for this. Would that matter if that is indeed the case?
Well, I'm disappointed to hear that, because I think the American people want tax reform, and we've got to have tax reform to get this economy going. So, you know, the one thing that bothered me about Mitch McConnell's comments when this was first brought up after the election was he said it has to be revenue neutral. And to me, that's D.C. code talk for don't cut our spending capacity. You know, so I think that we've got to have tax reform. You know, Neil, one thing I'm more concerned about is where they apply the tax reform. So, for example, you know, me as an individual, if you lower my taxes from, say, 40% to 38 or 37.5, it's really not going to matter. What I'd like to see, if they truly believe that small businesses are the backbone of the economy and small businesses are the backbone of this country, I'd like to see them lower the tax for S corporations, which are small business owners, from an effective rate of 40%, get that down to 15%. And you're going to see some significant injection of capital and
yeah, I know that's part of the wheeling and dealing
economy.
on this. Diana, I do know that the Reagan tax laws didn't materialize overnight. I mean, they went into effect, I believe, in '83 when they were first proposed in '81, and then we had the follow-up, really comprehensive tax reform in '86. I bemoan that. I remember what my wife and I did at the time because we couldn't write off our ample credit card interest. But it got us to be more prudent financially in our lives, so it was probably a good thing. But in other words, it takes a long time, Diana. Do you think this will take a while?
And also the '86 tax cuts were not revenue neutral. They lowered taxes on individuals, raised them on corporations. So I would actually not use that as a model. I think that we need to look at dynamic scoring. We need to look at behavioral effects.
Did they have dynamic scoring back then? Did they?
No, they did not.
They did not.
No,
okay.
no. And they in fact raised corporate taxes in order to cover the cuts in individual taxes. And I think we need to be bolder than that. We need to look at the $2.6 trillion of earnings that's being held offshore and how to get that back, and that's going to provide a lot of stimulus.
All right, guys, we'll see what happens here.